Hello, Emma, and welcome to the Jessica Pinelli podcast. Thank you so much, all the way from the UK. It is nighttime for you. Thank you for coming on to the Jessica Pinelli podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat today.
I'm super excited to go into your area of expertise, but I want to ask, how did you get into manifestation? What was the first thing that kind of tipped you into, oh, this is interesting. I want to learn more about this concept.
Yeah, so I first found out about the law of attraction back in 2016. So that's when I had my what I call my spiritual awakening, so to speak. So I kind of almost have two awakenings in my journey. One, maybe not so spiritual awakening. The first one in 2012 was more of, I guess, an emotional awakening, or just it's just a really big pivotal part that got me onto the journey that I am on today. So in 2012, I was working as a banking manager. I literally just fell into banking. I had no interest whatsoever to be a banker, no experience. I just happened to fall into this role. And I realized very quickly that it was not the role for me. I was feeling anxiety, depression, going to work every day, putting people in debt, being targeted on that as well. It was just not a healthy place to be, as you can imagine. So at the time as well, I was in my first not so great relationship, and I took on his £7,000 debt to in my name to help him out. Obviously, I got preferential rates at the bank, so that was obviously why we did it as well. And you can guess what happened as soon as I took out that loan. He never paid a single penny back. We broke up. And I was then left like 19, 20 years old with £7,000 worth of debt, anxiety, depression, and thinking, what the hell has happened here? So I left that banking role because I just knew that I couldn't even go to work. Like, there's no way I could hold on to that job. And I came across something called extreme couponing, which whenever I explain this story as part of my manifestation story, people are like, what the heck? How is this related? But I kind of feel like money's always followed me from the banking days to extreme couponing to obviously now helping people manifest money. So I do think it's funny how it's all kind of like woven into the journey over the years. So I found extreme couponing. And I first of all just found it as a hobby, as something like this could help me get out of debt. This could really help me save money. I was obviously like working part time just to, pay the bills and get by and obviously, still keep myself in some kind of work. So that really helped me to see the positives in life again and, have something positive to put my energy into and just put my focus into. And very quickly, I became very good at it. And my friends were like, you need to share these tips with people. You need to like put this out there. People would love to hear about it. And obviously, as you do, you're like, but who am I to do that? No one's going to want to hear my tips. Or, I'm just a 20 something girl from the UK who would want to hear about, couponing. So after a lot of pressuring from my friends, I started up a Facebook page. And within 6 months, it got, I think it was about 100,000 followers. I was then being invited on national TV shows. The press nicknamed me the coupon queen. And it was just a bit wild, to be honest with you, of like going from, like leaving my job, having anxiety and depression to then, literally teaching people on TV how to, coupon and save money. So I ran that business. I turned it into a business after a year. Again, had no idea what I was doing. I was winging it the whole way, as a lot of us do. And it just kind of was so destined, I think, that it had to happen, that it just fell into my lap. It was just so natural. And it was amazing that it was gaining traction and really helping people. When I sold it in 2018, that business had about 500,000 followers in the UK. So it was incredible what, I was able to achieve even in those 6 short years with that business. So in 2016, when I had my spiritual awakening, I was again experiencing anxiety and depression that had never gone. I was just kind of, defaulting and, trying to think, well, I've got this amazing business. I didn't have the kind of tools or vocabulary or awareness, I guess, of like how to actually tackle that. I was going to traditional therapy, but nothing was really kind of getting to the root or giving me those kind of long lasting results or shifts. So I was in a really, really bad place in 2016. My mental health was like the poorest it had ever been. I was having suicidal thoughts, and I just thought, how can people feel happy in life? Like, how can there be people out there who experience happiness and experience joy? I don't know how to tap into that. I don't know how that is possible, but I know it is possible and I want to learn that. So that second not so great relationship broke down that I was in at the time. And that kind of relationship breakup was the kind of catalyst for that spiritual awakening. And I just remember looking out the window at like 2 a.m. or something in the morning and saying, God, help me. And I wasn't religious. I think I would say I was atheist at that time. So I don't really know what kind of propelled me to say that, but I definitely think it is super profound that those were the words that I chose to say. And it felt like at that time that my soul was kicking in and my ego was like, we're done. So like we've resisted this whole time. I'm done. So a couple of days later, the word law of attraction kept popping up everywhere. And I always joke that it always finds you, you never find it. And I was like, what is this law of attraction? I thought at the time, oh, is this how you manifest love? That's what it kind of sounded like. So I did some research online, and this lady came up, blonde haired, and she was talking about manifesting and the law of attraction. And little did I know that was Louise Hay at the time. And I was like, wow, like what this lady is saying is great. It didn't feel like something I was learning. It almost felt like something I was remembering and like, oh, yeah, of course that's how life works. Of course that's how I've got to this place. Of course that's, how everything's kind of played out. So I really then, just like couponing, became obsessed with it and just wanted to learn more. It really sort of like drew me in. I read The Secret, I watched The Secret. And the rest, they say, is history. I then sold the couponing business in 2018. I decided to put both feet on my spiritual path and start Spiritual Queen, which obviously comes from Coupon Queen. And yeah, now you see what I do today.
What would you say to the listeners who have listened to that and go, I'm still stuck in a hard place? I know about manifestation, and obviously, over the
Mm.
past few years, it's definitely blown up a lot on social media, as I'm sure that you've recognized, both on Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. It's blown up. Everyone
Mhm.
knows or has some idea of what law of attraction and manifestation is. But if someone's in that hard place that you were and they go, well, it's all well and good. I've watched every single YouTube there is. I've listened to every podcast, and my life just is not changing. Where do you start with them? What would you say to them listening now?
Go deeper, because I found very quickly along my manifesting journey that, the secret's great. It's amazing. It's helped so many people, but it's like the basics. It's like, it's very kind of the basics, dip your toes in. And that's great because we need to introduce ourselves to it somehow and, learn the basics. But essentially, I believe that the inner work, especially, is something that is so, so important on the manifesting journey because essentially, our energy, our thoughts, our vibration, our words create our reality. And we've all had it where, we'll set an intention or think, I'd love to get that promotion at work. I'd love to manifest that money. And then the ego and inner critic pipes up and is like, well, who are you to do that? Or, you're not worthy of that. So our subconscious mind, our limiting beliefs, our thoughts, our fears do create our reality to some extent. I want to put that caveat in
Mm.
there because I know people will be like, and I think there's a lot of not so great teachings in the law of attraction sphere around our thoughts, around our beliefs. And I think a lot of people then fear that, kind of feel that fear of like, well, I can't possibly think a negative thought because it will manifest. I can't possibly think that because it will manifest. But we have over 80,000 thoughts a day. Not all of them manifest. We do not live in a world of instantaneous manifestation. Otherwise, it would be very, very chaotic in our universe. So, if you think about all the different things you've thought about today, I guarantee barely any of them have manifested. And, it's okay to feel our feelings, feel our emotions and process those thoughts. So I think a lot of people get caught up in that part of manifesting of like, I must think positive thoughts. I must be positive. Otherwise bad things are going to happen. And that's just not how it works at all. The law of attraction is not that black and white. It's not that linear. There are 7 energetic laws of the universe. The law of attraction is one of those 7. So I always say there is way more to it. But that doesn't mean it has to be complicated or it has to be hard. Definitely not. It's just knowing how it works and understanding those steps in the manifesting process on a deeper level to be able to understand, well, that's where I am and that's where my desire is. So, what is blocking that? And blocks resistance are one of the biggest blocks along the journey because of how our energy is vibrating, what thoughts we're thinking, how we're feeling, our energy, our emotions, etc. So I would definitely say our feelings, our emotions, and the inner world can hold all of the secrets to where some blocks might be or some frustrations might be and why something or you're not achieving that very goal that you want.
How would you explain manifestation in your own words?
Mm. I would describe it as one of the seven energetic laws of the universe and the notion that like attracts like. So our thoughts, our words, our energy creates our reality. So a bit like karma is like how I like to describe it. So what we put out into the world is what we attract to us. Like I said, not everything, but a prominent vibration is what we attract to us. And I like to see the universe as a big divine mirror. So, how we're showing up to the universal mirror of life is what is being reflected back to us. So, we've all had those days where, something bad's happened. We've gone and texted a friend and we're like, you won't believe what's happened. And then we go tell another friend and we go tell another friend. And then you just, at the end of the day, you're like, oh my God, it's been one of those days. I am so done and I am ready for tomorrow. And on the flip side, we've had those days where something positive's happened or something fun, and we've gone and told someone, and something else has happened. And at the end of the day, you're like, oh my gosh, it has been my lucky freaking day today. And that is the law of attraction in action in the most simplest way. I also believe that manifestation is a co creation process. So we go 50% of the way, and the universe meets us 50% of the way as well. It's not 90-10, it's not 10-90, it's 50-50.
How do you find your trust in the universe? That's something I fully stand behind as well. But in that moment where you said yourself, you're like, God, give me a sign. And it's like you weren't religious, but something in you was like, trust. Trust something is happening. Trust we've got your back. How do we tap into that? Where do we tap into that knowing feeling that we aren't alone in this universe?
Yeah, and I think trust is a real big unfolding journey because there's trust, like you say, in the kind of unknown, the universe, the divine, God, higher self, whatever you resonate with. But there's also trust within self as well. And I often get asked, like, how do I trust that I can manifest this? How do I trust the universe? How do I trust that this can happen? And I feel like trust and belief really go hand in hand on, in the manifestation journey of how we build that. But essentially, I always say that belief is built through two layers. The first layer or the first pillar is through lived experience. So if you're someone who has literally found manifestation today from listening to this podcast and you're like, what on earth is this? Your level of belief in the universe or your level of belief of manifestation would not be the same level of belief as someone who's been doing this 10 years. It's just not possible. So, of course, the person who's been doing it 10 years, for example, would have a very different level of belief and trust to someone who's literally just come across it today. So, lived experience is definitely something that can help and we can draw upon to build the foundation steps of that trust and that belief. So, for instance, we've probably all had those experiences throughout our life where something just magical has happened, whether it's like a white feather just floats in front of your face and you're like, oh my God, like, is that angelic? What's that? You might have seen angel numbers, repeating numbers like 1111, 333, 777. You might have had a spiritual experience in your life where I don't know, maybe a family member spiritual, or maybe someone read your cards once, or I don't know, like maybe you've done meditation before and you just had this like really profound experience, or maybe an experience that you were like, there's no way to explain that, but it just felt divine. It just felt like this beautiful moment. And I feel like drawing upon those moments, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant they are, really helps us to be able to start that process of remembering we're not alone. We have angels, we have our spirit guide team always supporting and loving us. We have the universe who's obviously there to support and love us as well. But essentially, a lot of spiritual texts believe that we are all one and that we're all interconnected, and everything in the universe is connected. And I think that's really comforting and nice to, think about as well. For me, that really resonates because again, it just reminds us that we're not doing this alone, that, the universe is there to support us. But in terms of like, once you've nailed the lived experience and drawn upon those past experiences in your life of maybe manifestation, maybe there's a time in your life you think, God, I said that and then that happened, or I wrote that goal down and I achieved it. So there might be examples like that in your life. But the second part of trust and belief, like building those layers of trust and belief, is mindset. So looking at do you trust yourself? And I think when we turn it back into ourselves, first of all, is really powerful because a lot of the time people will say to me, how can I trust the universe?
Mm,
How can I trust that that manifestation is going to happen? And I say, do you trust yourself to hold that manifestation?
mm.
Do you trust yourself to manifest it? Because the inner always reflects the outer, but it's always good to look at our relationship with trust of, do we trust ourselves? Do we feel safe in our body? All of those things are great questions to ask when you're looking at trust, because we love to see trust as like this external thing of like trusting in the unknown, trusting in the universe. It's very external things that we're placing our trust in, when actually trust really does begin within ourselves. And trusting that we can manifest, trusting that we are worthy, building that belief around worthiness or whatever the block may be. So, yes, definitely lived experience and mindset would be the two things that I would recommend.
Have you found in your experience, I know that you also have a membership and you've been doing this a while and you have quite a big following. Have you ever worked with a client or a bunch of clients who maybe spiritually bypass, in the sense they do all
Mhm.
of the routines, they have all of the rituals, but they actually don't get into the feeling. They actually don't take the action, or they believe more in, let's just feel into it and then trust the universe, but I don't need to have any messy inspired action behind it.
And I think there's so many layers to that, because I don't think anybody ever consciously bypasses. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who do, but a lot of the time, I don't feel that it is conscious that people are like purposefully doing that. I think it's that they just don't maybe know the right information or the right kind of teachings around why we need to do that work. And I think, again, for myself, when I first went on my journey, I didn't know that the inner work was a thing that was like not mentioned at all anywhere. So, how would I know to do that if I haven't read it or I haven't heard it anywhere? Whereas nowadays, you can't go anywhere without hearing about the inner work and working on that internal world. So, obviously, like in 2016, when I was reading these books and learning about it, even only a few years ago, what is it, 8 years ago now, it was such a different scape, such a different landscape of manifestation teachings. And that was why I really wanted to cultivate and develop my 5 steps and obviously help people understand this process so much easier. And yeah, definitely, I feel like people were maybe a bit resistant to doing the inner work, and I don't blame them. I definitely was when the inner work started coming up for me in 2020. I was like, absolutely not. I want to do the fun manifesting work. I want to manifest all the abundance. I don't want to sit there and talk about my feelings. I don't want to
Mm.
sit there and journal and dive into these really uncomfortable emotions. So I absolutely get it, because, in manifestation, we want to focus on the positives, we want to focus on the good stuff. But it, like the law of polarity, you can't
Mm.
have sunlight without nighttime. You can't have the yin without the yang. You can't have the light without the darkness. And I feel like the law of polarity has taught me so much around why our emotions and feelings are so important. And I always remember this really like prominent day for me in my journey where I was having this really pesky belief, really pesky voice in my head as I was walking around the supermarket. And it was the same old thing going on and on and on, frustrating me. I was trying to bash it down, quieten it, swear at it, everything. And nothing was working. It was just getting louder and louder and more annoying. And I got back home afterwards and I was just so fed up that I was like, what do you want? Like, what is your
Mm.
problem? And I heard this little voice go, I'm scared. And I was like, what the heck was that? And obviously, I didn't know it was my inner child at that time. But then I came to realize that actually, when we talk to that fear, when we acknowledge that fear, the power instantly goes. It's when we ignore it and suppress it, that's when the power builds and builds and builds. So, yes, I do see a lot of the time people feeling resistant to the inner work. Even today in my free Facebook group, someone had said that they'd been resisting buying Hurt, Healing, Healed, my book, for ages because they felt like they didn't need it. And they were like, Emma, I'm 4 chapters in. And let me tell you, I freaking needed that book. I'm so glad I picked it up. But I do think the inner work comes up at the right time. I don't think we can force it. I don't believe we can like force it to come up in any way, shape, or form. So your body, your soul, your mind knows the right time to pick up those tools to maybe explore and dive into that. So I don't think people intentionally spiritually
Mm.
bypass, but definitely we can't avoid it. The only way is through, as they say. And there is so much beauty and so much light and joy and amazing feelings and abundance that can come from exploring that if that does come up for us.
Where do you draw the line of waiting to feel ready to go through this inner work and to process it versus I'm okay doing what I'm doing and I've manifested a few things and things are kind of happening, but I'm okay where I am. But I
Yeah.
want
And I
more.
feel
I should add on to that. Someone who's also like, I do want more, but I'm kind of okay chilling where I am.
I think you've got to honor that because you don't want to get into what Gabby Bernstein calls manic manifesting, which is definitely something I was doing. And you're nodding, so I'm guessing you feel
Yeah.
me with that one. And it's so common. It's so common because I feel like the law of attraction is positioned as this like you can have everything you want. You want that car, you want that money, you want that house. And it's almost like we're kids in a candy store and we're like, oh, what can I have? There's just an endless supply of sweets and chocolate and everything that we want. So why wouldn't we want to manifest those things? So I feel like the law of attraction really appeals to our ego, first of all, because our ego is like, yes, I can get things. And if I get things, they're going to make me feel fulfilled and I won't have to look at the inner work. I won't have to look at what's inside. Whereas when you actually go along your manifesting journey, you then start to realize, oh, okay. So there is some inner work that needs to be done. I do have some limiting beliefs, fears, or blocks around manifesting love or manifesting money, for example. So if something is coming up, and you're feeling blocked, maybe there's some resistance, maybe you're feeling frustrated that something isn't manifesting for you. Yeah, that's when you want to kind of look at the inner work. And that's when you kind of want to look at what resistance is coming up, what beliefs and statements often come up for you around that area, and what your triggers are as well. If you're feeling emotionally triggered or stimulated by anything, those are the kind of key indicators that maybe there's something to look at. But again, people have picked up Hurt, Healing, Healed, and they're like, loved it, read it through, but actually, I don't feel I need to work on anything right now. And
Mm,
that's okay. Not every season of our life, we're going to be doing the inner work or being inwards. Sometimes we need to be in that outwards divine masculine energy of manifesting, of joy, of just living our lives. So, we're cyclical beings. Our lives go through a cyclical pattern in nature. So, you will know when it's the right time to maybe go inwards and look at anything that's coming up. And the same with manifesting. You might think right now, actually, I'm just really enjoying the view of where
mm,
I am. Things feel really good and celebrate that because what a freaking blessing that you're in a place where you're fulfilled, you're happy, life is good, and you've manifested these incredible things. I think we often feel pressure, and obviously, as a manifestation teacher, I definitely do, of like people always ask me, what are you manifesting next? And
mm.
I say, nothing. And they're like, what? Why would you be manifesting nothing, Emma? And I'm like, because I'm in a really good place right now. And I just want to enjoy this season of my life. I want to enjoy the view. I want to be grateful for the things that I've worked so hard for to manifest over the last few years. So
Mm.
why wouldn't I want to enjoy that and be truly deeply present with those things? Because yeah, I worked hard for that. That was good. So I think we need to allow ourselves to just be in the present moment, be grateful, be grounded with it, enjoy and soak up those moments. And then when something comes up and you're like, yeah, I want to focus on that, I want to manifest that, then go for it. So intuition's a big one with it for sure.
Mm. I want to go back to something you said a little bit earlier around routines and rituals. And I see behind you, you have your own card deck and cards. I have seen them on your Instagram. They're beautiful. What would you
Thank you.
say to the people? I really want to speak about free will, but also maybe doing externally, say a tarot card reading, maybe seeing a clairvoyant, any type of medium like this. What's your discussion? What's your viewpoint on hearing those things, taking them on board, but also understanding that we have free will?
Mm. And it's so important to know that we have free will because there's a huge debate in the manifestation sphere around free will versus destiny, around, if everything's predestined in our life, then what the heck is the point of manifesting? And they're great questions because, again, like as you can imagine, I've sat with that over the years and I'm like, Oh, what feels true? Like, what do I believe? Like, what do I feel is true within that? So, I think there's room for everything to be true. And I feel like there's so many mysteries to the universe that we're never going to know exactly how everything works or the exact workings of the universe because we're here to experience that over our whole entire lifetime. And maybe not even then know all the secrets until, we go to our next life or whatever. So, I do believe free will exists. I do believe that karma and destiny exists. And I do
Mm,
believe that we have soul contracts as well. But I am open to always learning more things. And yeah, like I'm not fixed in that because I think a lot of people are like, you have to be fixed in that belief. And I'm like, no, I'm a student of life, just like all of us. So if we're like fixed in a belief, that's
mm,
where we kind of stop growing, stop evolving, stop being curious. So I always love to be curious with it. And yeah, learn new things. So definitely there is free will at play. So for instance, if you had a soul contract to meet a certain person at a certain age in your life, for example, you would have free will within that where you could make decisions like previously that would maybe delay that a little bit or speed it up. So I do believe that we can speed up and slow down any soul lessons and things that are kind of predestined for us. But I definitely do believe we are the creators of our life. Some people have said on my podcast before, actually, that they believe that when we have a manifestation or like, we have a desire for something, that it's actually our higher self, our future
mm,
self, kind of like feeding that through to us. And I really liked that idea because I was like, that's interesting. But then I'm like, but if that's true, do we really have free will? So
mm,
I think it opens up a whole kind of more questions and whole kind of worms with that. But yes, definitely you are the creator of your life. And I also get a lot of the time people absolutely freaking out about psychic readings they've had or tarot card readings. And they're like, Emma, what does this mean? I do not want this to happen. And I actually had a really, a really big experience with this a few years ago. I've seen psychics for absolute years. I love them. They're always
mm,
fun. But I think when we're using tarot cards, oracle card readings, psychics, mediums, whatever, as an emotional crutch to build belief, that's where the problems occur. Because no matter how many times someone tells you something's going to happen in your life, or you're going to meet someone, or that person's the one, you will not believe it until you believe it within your core. So I think if you're using those types of divination as an emotional crutch, that's where I would say put them down and don't do that for a while. And I definitely did do that in the past. That's why I put myself on a psychic and oracle card ban for a
mm,
while because I was like, I need to build this belief within myself. Because every reading I'm having is exactly the same, and I still don't feel relieved. I still don't feel like, yes, I truly believe it now. So I think there's that side to it. But I had a reading years ago that, and again, I have a lot of psychics around me and my friends and peer groups, and psychics that I'd paid before, and all of them were telling me I was going to be with my ex. And I was like, are you mad? Like, are you
mm,
reading the same relationship that I'm in? And I felt almost like it was being forced on me a little bit, not by the psychics, but by the universe. And I was like, why am I being condemned to this life with someone I do not want to be with? Like, what the heck? I've not gone through all I've gone in my life to
mm,
have that as my end result. Like, I've done the work, universe. Like, what the heck? And I do believe at some point that definitely could have been a timeline and that definitely could have been a possibility. But I'd healed, I'd up leveled, and I was like, absolutely not. There is not a way I'm staying there. So as you can imagine, obviously it felt really like hard to hear that. And it almost felt like, am I resisting this? Like, is this just my fate? And I just have to accept this. But I kept telling my friend George, I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not coming this far to be in that relationship. That's not what my soul resonates with. That's not what my intuition says. And it just felt wrong, even though these psychics were 100% right about everything else in my life. So I decided that I was going to do it my way, go against the grain as always. And I was like, I'm going to choose differently. And I chose differently. And I did certain meditations and kept reaffirming that and making those, actionable decisions to choose differently. And now I'm very happy in a very different relationship. And I'm like, God, imagine if I'd settled for that. imagine if I'd believed that. Imagine if I hadn't trusted my intuition, I wouldn't be where I am today in the most happy, loving relationship. And I would have settled for something way, way less than that. So I think a lot of people get told they're going to have children. I've had people say, a psychic's told me I'm going to have children and I don't want children. So I do think psychics see opportunities. They see what's an opportunity in your aura and energy field at that time they read you. Um, and my good psychic friends say now as well that they think psychics will be obsolete by, 50 years time anyway, because of how energy is changing and because of how energy is shifting. My psychics now, when I do go for readings, will never give me a time frame because they're like, Emma, you're someone who could like manifest something to them tomorrow if they wanted. Where she said you read some people and that would be very fixed of like, yeah, that would be 10 years or that would be 5 years. But time and energy is working very differently now. So I think what psychics see are windows of opportunity. They see what is there. Whether you take that, whether you chuck that is up to you.
I love that. I love that perspective, and I'm definitely behind that. And I had a period like you where I was kind of using it as an emotional crutch, like, and I would keep hearing the exact same things over and over, and I didn't have the belief in myself. And I think a big
Yeah.
theme of everything that you just said was having that belief, but also allowing yourself to tap into your intuition, because I've definitely been told things in the past that I'm like, that just does not sit right with me. I don't care how much you're
Yeah.
telling me this or half of the reading is about this. And I look back on those things and I'm like, I am so happy I listened to my intuition. I'm so happy that I've listened to my gut feeling of what I know is right for me. And so I think that was an important conversation to put in this, because I do know people, and I was one of those people that use these resources. And that's what they are. They're resources external to us to kind of plan their life or to get some
Mm,
direction. And I think that they're beautiful. I have a lot of psychic friends as well. And I think they need to be used with discretion. I think you need to be honest with yourself also. What are you trying to figure out? What are you trying to find? But can you tap into your intuition? Can you tap into what you really, truly desire in this
mm,
life? I want to switch gears a little bit, but I want to speak about what everyone wants to manifest: money. Money. Everyone wants to manifest money, and everyone to a degree may struggle depending on why they want money, depending on the amount of money. Some people also are very effortless at manifesting money and abundant opportunities. Someone's listening and they're thinking, Emma, this has been a great episode, but I can't manifest money. I can't manifest money. I'm struggling with it no matter how high vibe I feel, or if I've changed, I've done the inner work, I've been doing the inner work. Why does it feel so stuck to bring in more money into my life?
mm. And I feel like money is definitely one of those things that everybody has a love or hate relationship with it. People either like have a really great abundant relationship with it, or people are like, it's my biggest block. So yeah, definitely we have to look at what our relationship is like with money, because it is a relationship. And I think a lot of people forget that just like a relationship with our family, our loved ones, our friends, money is a relationship too. And I absolutely love having dates with money. And my partner laughs every time I do this. I'm like, I'm on a date with money. And he's like, all right, Emma. And what I'll do is I will sit and I'll like have a look at my savings, have a look at like my investments, have a look at my current account, my business accounts, like everything, everywhere where my money is, I will look at it and I'll write down and I'll look at, right, am I nurturing my money? Is it in the right place? How can I show my money even more love? And something as simple as that is such a great awareness tool, because the amount of times I hear people say, I don't manifest anything. I don't manifest any money, Emma. And I'm like, okay, write an abundance log down for the next week or 4 weeks and note down every bit of money that comes to you, whether that's new money, refunds, inheritance, gifts, finding money, freebies, coupons, discounts. Because I think a lot of people say money manifestation is just new money, but actually, money manifestation is winning money. Money manifestation is also freebies and coupons and discounts and money staying in your bank account as well. So I get them to do this abundance log and write all these things down, and they come back and they're like, oh my God, I've been manifesting money all this time. And It's easy because we live in a very, chaotic world. We live in a very busy world. We have very busy schedules. So when £5 manifests there or $10 or whatever, we'll be like, great, next. And then we'll be distracted by something and we forget that we've even manifested that. So actually, when you challenge yourself to document it down, be honest, keep track of it, you are showing the universe, I'm aware of what I'm manifesting. I'm grateful for what I'm manifesting because awareness, I find, is the biggest block with money manifesting. And when I was in my £7,000 debt 10 years ago, I really was, well, 12 years ago now. I was like obviously paying a debt collectors and I knew it was like roughly like 6,500 at that time. And I kept wanting to manifest being debt free. And I would like write the affirmation of I'm debt free, I'm debt free. And I would manifest money in my business like effortlessly. I would manifest money effortlessly. But I was like, why can I not manifest being debt free? Like I've had this on my vision board for 6 months. I've been writing it down. I've been doing everything, but this is the one thing that doesn't manifest. And I realized it's because I had no freaking idea what being debt free meant. I was
Mm,
just plucking a figure out of my head, thinking that that was it. So I decided to, stop avoiding things and log into the debt collector's website. And it was a little bit more than what I thought it was, but that didn't scare me. That didn't feel bad. I was like, okay, but now I know what I'm dealing with. Now I have clarity and awareness over my financial situation. That's actually empowering. And within 5 days, I manifested the exact amount to be debt free. And all I did was just get clear. All I did was not bury my head in the sand, have awareness, know exactly what I needed, like amount wise clarity. And that clarity and that awareness helped the universe to bring it into that reality because I finally knew what being debt free meant. So, money dates are fantastic, abundance logs are fantastic, but also I think, money is abundance as whole. A lot of people associate the word abundance with money, but I look at abundance as,
mm,
an abundance of everything in our life. And your ability to receive as well is a big one when it comes to money because I feel like with money, we feel like, we're in charge of money. We manage the money. We're like the kind of, I guess, parent role, so to speak, in managing and kind of manifesting the money. Whereas actually our money can work for us as well. And it's an equal relationship. So, do you believe that money loves you? Do you believe that money can support you? Do you believe that money is easy as well? I know a lot of us, or like I certainly used to put a lot of emphasis on money of being this very like rigid
mm,
3D kind of like masculine kind of thing. And I used to see it as, greedy as well, of like, a lot of people see money as evil, for example. So there's lots of societal beliefs and words that we've probably picked up over the years. Also, our money beliefs are absolutely created from our early childhood years. So, in a money workshop I did a couple of years ago, I said to them, who out of your mother, father, or caregiver do you reflect money relationship wise? And all of them were like, oh my God, I'm exactly like my dad. I'm exactly like my auntie. I'm exactly like my mum, my grandma. So, it's really interesting where we can even look at our parent and caregivers and families' relationships of money, of what stories and what beliefs we've absorbed over the years.
I love that. What about for the listeners who go, I've been doing all of this, I've been doing the work, and all I seem to manifest are more a random tax bill or my car blew up, the engine blew up, or I need new tires, or all of a sudden my insurance says I owe them $500. Why am I manifesting giving away more money, Emma?
New Level, New Devil. And Denise Duffel Thomas shares that in her book, Get Rich, Lucky Bitch. Probably one of the best money books I've read. So I highly recommend
Agreed.
reading that.
Agreed. To
Yes.
the audience, definitely agree with Emma on that one.
So yeah, I read in there that Denise teaches about New Level, New Devil, and I was like, what on earth is this? And she basically teaches, and I love the way she puts this as well, because she said millionaires still have bills to pay, millionaires still have their car breakdown, an unexpected bill, a higher tax return than they expected, but we just assume that millionaires don't have those problems and that it's just us when we're kind of manifesting money. So, no matter what level you're at with your money, you're always going to have bills to pay. There will be things that crop up. that is life. That happens to every single human being on this planet. But what happens from a more kind of spiritual, cognitive side of things is that when we declare to the universe that we are, up leveling our money mindset, maybe we're doing that inner work, we're doing some good work around money, and we're seeing the benefits from that, we're at that new level. So a lot of the time, people believe that the universe tests us. And I don't like to use the word test because the universe is not it doesn't kind of hold judgment. It's not there like, oh, so you're up leveling your money mindset, let's just test you. What I see it as is opportunities to walk our talk, opportunities to step into that new vibration, that new level that we've been working towards. And again, it's saying, how are you going to deal with this situation? So now you've done that work, now you've up leveled, how are you going to deal with this problem at this new level of your life? And this was something that I've seen play out so many times in my business and so many times in my life. Even when we bought this house last year, it was the, first house we bought. I had to like really check myself and be like, wow, like I finally bought my first house. Like that's freaking incredible to be on the property ladder. And I then found like myself having this like identity crisis of like, oh my God, like, am I ready for this? Like, who am I, this homeowner? And like the payment was literally probably the same as my rent that I'd been paying before to my landlord. Like there was nothing hugely different to it, but it was almost like the energetics of like, wow, I've really had to step up into this new financial like reality for myself where I've got the house, we've bought the house. And actually, my business is growing and earning more. And I feel like every time I hit those milestones, every time that new level, that new devil appears, there's always going to be things that I'm like, oh, this is so frustrating. And I'm like, but that is just what comes with having that new level, new devil. So, yeah, it happens to all of us.
Mm,
It still happens to me. I'm sure it still
mm,
happens to Denise Duffel Thomas as
mm,
well. And it's just something that we have to, learn to navigate and see the bigger picture of what a blessing I have here to be able to pay a bill in full to pay for my car. What a blessing I even have a car that's broken down. So I think
mm,
I try to look for the opportunity of here of, wow, how lucky am I to have this problem or this unexpected bill? Because that tax bill that was more than I thought it was must mean I'm earning more money. What a
mm,
blessing. So
mm.
it's changing the way you look at things. Of course, there'll be things that, just are rubbish and annoying and frustrating, of course. And you might have to reach a little bit more to find that opportunity. But again, yeah, you'll have it at every stage.
I love that you kind of added that onto the end of yes, you can still have a human experience and think that's rubbish or that's shitty. I wish I wasn't experienced that, but always flipping the perspective of I'm so grateful to have this. That's something I started to do the past few years with tax. I used to hate paying my tax bill. And I was like, this is a really shitty perspective to have. And I flipped it like that. I was like, bigger tax bill means I'm earning more money. And how great is that, that I'm doing that in my own online business? And I think that a lot of people, I love that you brought up that book and that perspective of yes, millionaires still have random things happen. They still have their car break down. They still have these random tax bills. And I think that's such a great perspective to look at it, especially if someone's listening and they think, well, I'm doing all of the things and all I'm manifesting are all the things I don't want. It's like, are you actually getting the things that you do want and you're experiencing this new level now?
Mm.
Emma, this has been such an incredible episode and you've given so many good little golden nuggets. I always kind of end the episode with a random question. I have like 10 questions and I always choose one. However, for you, the whole time I'm like, I'm not going to ask one of these questions. I've got a different one that I would like to ask you. Actually, it's kind of two tiered. Number one, what is your favorite universal law? And number two, if you could create a universal law, what would that look like?
Oh, that is a really good question, Jessica. I love that. I love that. My favorite one. Well, I guess I kind of have to say the law of attraction in terms of my favorite law. It is called the law of vibration for anyone who goes and look up the
Mm,
universal law and they're like, where's the law of attraction? It's called the law of vibration in a lot of the seven energetic laws teachings. But I'm also going to say, as much as I love the law of vibration, the law of polarity, I feel
yeah.
like is one that I draw upon time and time again.
Mm,
And I feel like it's been so healing. I feel like it's been so expansive for my manifestation practice just to learn more about it, to
Mm.
incorporate it and understand how the law of polarity impacts our day-to-day life, impacts our manifestations, impacts everything. So I think they're all really fun. I think they're all really useful. But I would definitely say those are my two favorites. In terms of what I would create as a law, oh my gosh, that is so hard.
It's a big question.
It is. Oh my gosh. But I feel like they already exist, what I want to
Mm,
say. Um, I would say, okay, well, I'll create a fun one. The law of receiving, I would call it. I'm sure there probably is one out there called that already,
okay.
but I
Explain
would
this one. I
say,
like that.
yeah. I would say, well, if I'm creating the law, I'm going to make it easy for everybody, of course,
Mm.
because we want easy abundance and easy receiving. So, the law of receiving would be the law that you can, the less, I mean, this actually is true. This isn't me making this up. This is how I do see manifesting. But if I had to package it up as a law, this is what I would say. So, the less you do, the more you attract, which is true. That is very true. I live by that. So the law of receiving would be the less that you do in terms of like not doing nothing, you still like, have to show up, you still have to take your action. But the less you do, the more you receive. And receiving in a way that feels easy, that feels expansive, that feels aligned for you. And as I'm saying this, I'm like, this is all very true. This is all very like things that already exist. But yeah, I'd package it into the law of receiving.
Law of receiving. I love that. You need to coin that, make that your own term. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Emma. Where can everyone find you, work with you? I know that you have a couple of books. Give us a rundown.
Yeah, thank you. So you can find me at I am Emma Mumford on basically every social media. I'm there. I tend to be on Instagram the most, but I'm on TikTok, everywhere. And also emmamumford.co.uk is where you can find all my books, the manifestation membership, basically anything that I do, you can find it all on there. And yes, my books, Positively Wealthy and Hurt Healing Healed and Manifesting Rituals, you can get from anywhere that sells books worldwide if you want to go deeper.
Incredible. That will all be in the show notes below. Thank you so much for your time today, Emma. You have brought so much to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.